He was hopeful that by the end of this month, but we're not sure about that. Part of the reason is that we have to build a car park because when funerals take place, because we're now a motoring public, dozens of vehicles will follow the hearse to the burial site, and they cannot clog the factory road highway. They must be placed someplace where they're out of the way. So parking lot is very important. And in order to ensure that there's no desecration of any graves, it is absolutely necessary to have secure fencing all the way around the area where burials will take place. Now, we also plan to build a chapel, non-denominational chapel, in which funerals can take place actually at the cemetery rather than at a funeral home or at a church. And the whole idea is to try to limit the cost also to families. Funerals can be very expensive. I believe the cheapest funeral now is about $8,000. And we're trying to ensure that it can be as affordable as is reasonable. The Antigua and Barbuda public has not yet warmed up to the idea of cremations, but we think that that is coming. There is a limit to how much land we can utilize for burials. We've seen this in other countries. Bermuda, for example, has a population of 65,000. And Bermuda is about 1/5 the size of Antigua. Not Antigua and Barbuda, just Antigua. And yet, they have about 400 deaths every year. And they're able to dispose of their 400 deaths without utilizing what could be land for other purposes, for other than burials. And so they've solved that challenge, and we can solve it also. And cremations is one of the methods utilized in the solving the solution to that problem. Now, in larger countries in the Caribbean, take Jamaica for example, people might even bury their parents right in the yards. It's not uncommon because there's enough yard space. And when we were a sugarcane producing country, every plantation had its own cemetery. So if you dig deep enough, you'll find the bones of our ancestors buried in places that are now covered in vegetation that does not indicate that there was once a burial spot here. Betty's Hope. If you enter into Betty's Hope, there's a cemetery where both slave masters and slaves were once buried. Slave masters, of course, on the perimeter and very close to the front and so on, and slaves further on in the back. So we have got to find a method that will not result in us utilizing more and more agricultural land for purposes of burials. And one of those is cremations, which is why there's been a discussion about crematory services being provided by private investors and so on in Antigua and Barbuda. It's going to be very necessary in the very near future. It's not a problem that my generation will have to address frontally, because there's a limit to how much longer I might be around. People from my generation will be around, but those coming afterwards will have a real problem, and we want to help them solve that problem now rather than kick the can further down the road.